Is China trying to provoke a verbal conflict with India in the middle of the election? How else will you explain what's going on? This weekend, while most of you were perhaps de-stressing, preparing for the week ahead, China was preparing for a verbal conflict with India. It was firing rhetorical bombs. On Saturday, China, quote-unquote, renamed 30 places in Arunachal Pradesh. I say quote-unquote because Arunachal or parts of Arunachal are not China's to rename. Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of India, just like it always has been. But you see, this fact does not sit well with China. Beijing believes in and desperately tries to impose its alternate reality, one where Arunachal Pradesh is supposedly a part of Tibet and by extension a part of China. In fact, Beijing calls Arunachal Pradesh Jiangnan. On Saturday, China's Ministry of Civil Affairs published a list of what it calls standardized names, and on it were the names of 11 areas of Arunachal Pradesh, 12 mountains, 4 rivers, 1 lake, a mountain pass, and a piece of land, we are being told. Which are these places and mountains? We don't know. A Hong Kong-based media house that had access to the list reports that the names were given in Chinese characters, Tibetan and Pinyin, the Roman alphabet version of Mandarin Chinese. Let me just read out for you what this report quotes the Chinese ministry as saying. In accordance with the relevant provisions of the State Council on the Management of Geographical Names, we, in conjunction with the relevant departments, have standardized some of the geographical names in Jiangnan of China. Unquote. This is not a first, not even a second. China is a habitual offender cum provocateur. Beijing has published at least 3 such lists in the last 7 years. The first one was published in 2017. It had 6 names. In 2021, another list was published. This one had the names of 15 places. The third list was published in 2023, and this one had names of 11 places. China wrongly and absurdly claims that naming Chinese places in foreign languages harms China's territorial claims and sovereignty rights. What about places that are not Chinese? What is this overdrive to claim to rename foreign territories? There is a word for it, and it's called aggression. What China is basically trying to do is abuse the undefined border. India and China share a 3,200-kilometer line of actual control. The line is undefined. In March, when the Indian Prime Minister visited Arunachal Pradesh, China decided to start ranting. Prime Minister Modi spent a day in Arunachal Pradesh. The visit was extremely significant because the Prime Minister inaugurated the Sela Tunnel. It is the world's longest twin-lane tunnel, and it is constructed at the elevation of 13,000 feet. The project was built at the cost of 825 crore rupees. This tunnel provides an all-weather connectivity to Tawang, which borders China. It also cuts down the travel time, which means this tunnel enables faster deployment of weapons, soldiers, and military equipment to the border. China is struggling to digest this boost to India's defense preparedness, so Beijing is acting out. And right after the Prime Minister's visit, China said, and I'm quoting, Jiangnan area is Chinese territory, quote unquote. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Wang Wenbin, added, and I'm quoting again, India has no right to arbitrarily develop the area of Jiangnan in China. India's relevant moves will only complicate the boundary question and disrupt the situation in the border areas between the two countries, quote unquote. Look at what China said last week. Jiangnan in the eastern sector has always been China's territory, quote unquote, adding, China had all along exercised effective administrative jurisdiction over the area, quote unquote, until India's illegal occupation, quote unquote. Whom exactly is China trying to manipulate with these lies is the question. In 1 month, China has spoken about Arunachal Pradesh 5 times. The question is, what exactly is China trying to do, except provoke India through its absurd and bizarre claims? China clearly is threatened by India's border infrastructure, but how does it help to start a verbal conflict in the middle of the Indian general election? How does China benefit from it? Except, it gets to keep the Indian authorities engaged, perhaps even disturbed. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.